Well, good morning, everybody on Facebook, and how are you? Dominic Cortez with you, another edition of Hammer Time Radio coming your way. Anthony Sheeta's here from Mosquito Hunters, now with a new name, I guess we'll say, right, Anthony? It's Mosquito and Pest Hunters.
Yeah, Pest Hunters, Mosquito Hunters of Buffalo.
There you go. We'll be talking about that, mixing in questions. In our 11 o'clock hour, we'll have representatives here from National Grid, and we'll be talking about consumption issues, also the electrification discussion, and we'll mix in any questions and comments you have as well. Good morning, thanks for being there. We are about to begin.
Follow our updated X feed for the latest by following at WBEN.
Here we go. Good morning, Buffalo. It's Dominic, and Hammer Time Radio starts right here, right now.
Leaking roof? Need new windows? Looking to remodel your kitchen or bath? You've come to the right place and the right time. Broadcasting on News Radio 930 WBEN since 1989, this is Hammer Time Radio. Now, your host, your man for home improvements, Dominic Cortez.
Good morning.
Lakeshore Savings Bank, putting people first since 1891.
Good morning, homeowners, and welcome once again to Hammer Time Radio here on WBEN. Dominic Cortez with you. Special show for you today is our first hour. We'll be speaking with Anthony Sheeta from Mosquito Hunters. They've now hybrid their name, adding pest into their name. We'll be talking to Anthony about that. In our 11 o'clock hour, finally, we've got National Grid coming in. We'll be speaking with Ken Kajawa and Dave Bertola from National Grid. We'll kind of open up everything to where we've been with the discussion about everything electric, which includes consumption with your smart meter issue, and as well as electrification proposals, where they are with that as far as the perspective of National Grid. And also, we are going to be hopefully speaking with Paul Bologna today from the State Assembly about this grandfathering law that's being proposed in the Assembly to give home builders that are developing a neighborhood a break on the fact that if a neighborhood's been started under old propositions for gas being allowed, would they be allowed to grandfather the entire neighborhood? So that's kind of an interesting perspective here, kind of a little kink in the armor, if you will, on the electrification issue and date start of January 1. So hopefully that's going to come together too. We're waiting to hear from Paul Bologna. Anyway, good morning, Anthony.
Morning, how are you?
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we learn so much from you every time you visit with us. But let's start with what may not be the obvious, and that is Mosquito Hunters has kind of changed their name a little bit.
Yeah, we've branched out and I've started, we've been doing it for a little while now, treating for pest control, but it's a little bit of a process to go through a name change, and the name is now in effect, so it's Pest Hunters, Mosquito Hunters of Buffalo.
There you go. And it kind of brings everything together for you that you've been trying to, steer the company towards, and that is, obviously, mosquitoes might be the entree, or the appetizer, if you will, but the entree might end up being, who knows, a mouse problem.
Yeah, through the years of, being in business and mosquito control, we've always had, our customers reach out to us and say, hey, I have a mouse problem, can you take care of that?
Yeah.
We've got yellow jackets, can you take care of that? And, there's a process. You have to get the, proper licensing through the state to do that type of stuff, but, we're, properly licensed now, and, we've been able to help our customers with these issues.
And from my perspective, having one person to call is great, because I know you can take care of it and you'll do it right. Obviously, you take care of me for mosquitoes. You take care of me for yellow jackets, which I'm allergic to. You take care of me for spiders. And now we're adding another thing to my list, and that is boxwood beetles.
Yeah. This time of year, people are starting to notice them. So, there's a there's a lot of home remedies out there using soap and water, and it does work. The only issue with the home remedy is, it's a one shot.
Yeah, it washes away.
Yeah, so
Tell us what you do for boxwood beetles.
we just spray the boxwoods with our products. There's a couple different products that we put into the spray. The main adulticide, which is what's going to kill the adult boxwood beetle, and then we have an IGR for the infantile boxwood beetles, which will help them not develop the proper biting mouth parts and wings and so on and so forth. But we also use a product in there. It's a sticker agent which helps the adulticide and the IGR stick to the plants and leaves through weather like we're having right now.
Yeah, those are technical terms. So
Yep.
talk to us in lay form. What does those initials mean?
So an IGR is an insect
Insect growth.
insect growth regulator. I'm sorry. Yep. So again, that is just a product that's going to mess around with the insect's biology.
Okay. Now, with it being such a wet spring, what's your forecast for what's going to happen when summer actually finally gets here?
It's gonna be like a punch in the face. With how wet it's been, I can only imagine how bad the mosquito population is going to be once that pressure gets up there and we start having some consistent warm days ahead of us.
And that's because of the pooling water everywhere?
Yeah. Mosquitoes need water to breed, and there's been plenty of it.
Mm-hmm. So in preparation for that, if someone has standing water, what can they do to get ready to help, combat a mosquito population?
There's a couple things they can do. Obviously, the biggest thing is, after it rains, is just dump that water if you can dump it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't, there are mosquito dunks that you can purchase at local hardware stores, and you would want to place that into that standing water. That will, eliminate the larvae in the water.
Okay, so if you have standing water on your property, that would be the direction to take, as opposed to, obviously you can't dump that water. So,
yeah.
But what about going as far as, actually I tell listeners this all the time, this is a good time to do an inventory about where you might have a problem with drainage, and maybe use the wet conditions as a barometer as to what you need to do to correct that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're noticing that, you've got, water pooling up in certain areas in your backyard, maybe that's the time, put some topsoil down and level out that,
So your treating now will really not do anything to prevent a mosquito problem with someone who has standing water.
Yeah, so I mean, if we treat the standing water, if we, our mosquito customers have us, preventive maintenance and stuff like that. So
there is some benefit to pre-treating, even if there's standing water.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. 803-0930. That's the number for you this Saturday morning here on WBEN. Anything around the house that needs my attention, or if you have a pest problem. And again, as I mentioned with Anthony now, his pest menu has been expanded into, as we mentioned, mosquitoes, of course, ticks, we'll be talking about that. Yellow jackets, a big concern, and then rodents as well.
Yep.
All right. So anything you have around the house for pests, it's Anthony Sheeta from Pest Hunters, Mosquito Hunters, 803-0930. Outside Buffalo, 1-800-616-WBEN. The Volkswagen of Orchard Park text board, open and operating. Same as our call-in number, 803-0930. Good morning from Dominic Ortiz. And before you pick up the hammer, before you pick up the drill, pick up the phone and give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Well, before we talk to you, though, we're going to travel to the Clarence branch of Lakeshore Savings Bank. She's our banker, ladies and gentlemen. She's Christina Swendler from Lakeshore Savings Bank Clarence office. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's great. Some of our listeners are probably banking with companies from outside of Western New York. What are the benefits, Christina, of banking with a Buffalo, Chautauqua, Erie County bank?
So there's a lot of benefits. First being that we are locally owned and operated, and that we understand the needs of Western New Yorkers. Lakeshore Savings Bank has been in this region for 134 years, and we understand the diverse needs of our customers better than anyone. Second, we have flexibility and expertise to develop customer-centric solutions. All of our lending decisions are made right here in Western New York. Third, Lakeshore Savings Bank is committed to the economic health of our region by keeping deposits and loans right here in the Western New York area. People that work here at Lakeshore Savings Bank are our friends and neighbors, so we try to shop local and help support our local economy.
Well, that says a lot, Christina, and it's definitely time, folks, for you to consider switching to Lakeshore Savings Bank. We did it several years ago at Cortez Construction, and we're certainly glad we did. Our personal experience has been a great testimony as to the personalized service that is offered by Lakeshore. The bank's products and services customized to fit your needs.
Absolutely. The banking market is always changing, but we've been operating right here in Western New York since 1891. If you're looking for a bank that has a long-standing presence and reputation in the community, why not take a look at Lakeshore Savings Bank?
Why not is correct. Thanks, Christina. Tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you today.
Sure, absolutely. I'm here till noon today, and you can get a hold of me at 716-688-6114.
All right, Christina Schwender, the manager of the Lakeshore Savings Bank branch on Transit Road in Clarence, right across the street from Transit Middle. Stop in and see her. Lakeshore Savings Bank, since 1891, putting people first.
Wondering where to shop for home improvements? Well, you've come to the right place. Our sponsors have proudly earned the Hammer Time seal of approval by operating with honesty and integrity. So remember, to buy right the first time, buy from a Hammer Time partner. Attention contractors, this is Dominic Cortez here to remind you that Herb Company is your trusted source for top quality contractor installed products. From tankless hot water heaters to energy efficient boilers and radiant heating systems, Herb has what you need to stay ahead of the curve. With building code changes coming next year, costs are likely to rise. So now's the time to lock in savings. Visit herbcompany.com.
Our box with beetles and box moth, the same creature.
At 825-1400 today. Plan ahead and save with Herb Company, your partner in excellence. Summer in Western
Japanese
New York.
beetles.
We wait for it all year and live for every sunny minute. Dominic Cortez here. Make sure your home stays comfortable
Japanese
all
beetles.
season
Yeah,
long. With a $99
you
health and
definitely want to
safety
get
checkup
professional
from
involved.
TRS Heating and
You
Air
get those
Conditioning. Need an
traps,
upgrade?
and those
TRS can
traps
recommend
actually
a
attract
high-efficiency
more
roof
to your
system
property.
to keep you
I
cool
had
in the
a
heat with flexible financing to fit your
entomologist come out with
budget.
me
Visit
one time, and he said,
TRSheatingandairconditioning.com for
if you want to
details.
get rid of
TRS
Japanese
Heating,
beetles,
Air Conditioning, and Electrical
put that trap on your neighbor's
Excellence.
property.
Comforting today. This is Dominic Cortez.
There's
Looking
pheromones
for
in there
an
that
easy,
attracts them.
affordable
I mean,
exterior
it works,
upgrade?
but
Lenco Supplies has
it
Tando
attracts more than
Stackstone
what you probably
and
have on your own
Beach House
property.
Shake Siding. Durable, modern.
Hey, can you tap on your mic real quick?
Where's it
Pat you down.
in stock color?
Louder.
Composite siding delivers realistic textures and long-lasting color for residential or commercial exteriors. Plus, free delivery on orders of
Okay.
$100. Visit Lenco's 3 locations or shop online at lenco.supplies.
WBEN 930 AM, as Buffalo as Beef on Weck.
10:19 is Hammer Time, and good morning from Dominic Cortez. And how are you? 803-0930. If you have a pest question, Anthony Sheeta is in studio. Hey, coming up, let's see, our next cooking class is the 2nd of June, where we're traveling to Catania, the region of Italy, and great class planned for that. We're making arancini, pasta alla norma, and we're making cannoli as well. That's June the 2nd. June the 2nd's class is followed by June the 16th, where we're taking it outside to our courtyard, and we're going to have a class called Simple Summer, Estate Semplice, grilled handmade sausage with peppers, grilled vegetables with goat cheese, frilled peaches and pineapple with mascarpone cream. That's June the 16th. Then the pizza workshops. We've got 2 of those. July 7th and July 21st. So check out all the upcoming classes at our Come Home to Cortez Cooking School with our wonderful chef Jerry Clemente. Our cooking class is usually the first and second Mondays of the month. And our building is at 9074 Main Street in Clarence. We're 2 miles east of Transit Road on the north side of Main Street. I'd love to have you come by and check out everything we do at Cortez Construction, which includes our room additions, our kitchen and bath renovations, our Better Living sunrooms, solar shades, retractable awnings. And then there's that corkscrew machine. Yeah, our TMP of Buffalo helical pier installations. We're there to help you with anything around the house at Cortez Construction. So check out the cooking school and keep us in mind for your renovations. My guest in studio, Anthony Sheeta from Pest Hunters, Mosquito Hunters. So Anthony, let's talk for a minute about some other common pests that you'd see all the time, starting with my biggest nemesis, which is yellow jackets.
Sure. Yellow jackets, typically you'll start to notice them really active, late summer. We typically start getting a lot of calls, I would say, beginning of July all the way through, mid-September.
So at that point, it's almost too late, right? I know you could probably still treat them, but you'd rather, I would think, do something now before they start nesting.
Yeah, and the thing is that, if you notice that you had a problem in the past, the best thing to do is call somebody now.
Yes.
Because then we can identify if it's still a problem.
So what do you do now that you would do differently from after they start taking residence?
First thing is you always do an inspection. We want to, take a look at the property, see exactly, where did you notice them coming in from? Do you still notice them coming in there? If it's an entry point into an attic or a crawl space or something like that, try to get up in there. And if we notice activity, then that would, be cause for, the extermination of the yellow jacket.
So that would be something we would do now. What else would we do now other than get ready for the mosquito season?
Ticks are going to be pretty prevalent. Every year, our calls for ticks just keep going up and up and up. Mm-hmm. I would say that, the big thing with ticks is it's yard maintenance. If you've got tall grass in your backyard, a lot of leaf litter, that's where ticks like to hang out.
So a mowed lawn is not going to attract ticks?
No. No, if you have deer running around your backyard, it's very possible that they could drop ticks in your backyard. Mm-hmm. But for them to want to hang out there, they're going to dry out, and they don't like to be in an area where there's not shade and moisture.
Okay. So then we have mosquitoes, we have ticks, we have yellow jackets. What else would we want to do on a seasonal basis? Spiders, in my case.
Yep, spiders and ants is always another big one. We do a perimeter pest treatment around the foundation of the home, 3 feet up, 3 feet down. It definitely works as far as, building that barrier around the home so that when those insects try to get into the home, they're crawling through that product and killing them off.
Well, we also had you treat our building for spiders because we have in that it's a slab on grade, an easy entry point for them to get in under the track in our sunroom in the front of the building and through doorways. Yeah,
spiders will try to find any way to get into a home. They're definitely a lot more active, and you'll definitely notice them more frequently in the summertime. That's why when we're out and we're treating for this type of stuff, we'll knock down spider webs. We'll treat those specific areas where customers tell us, hey, this is where I noticed them coming in from.
We used to, before you started treating for us, we used to see them on our windowsills. Mm-hmm. They would nest there. There'd be a spider web across our brick windowsills on the outside of the house. I wondered why they would be attracted to that location.
They're just looking to build their spider web wherever they can, trying to, trap as many insects as they can, for food. The easier the spot to build their web, that's where they're going to hang out.
Are boxwood beetles, a texture's writing, and box moth the same creature, same treatment method?
They are different. The boxwood moths are an invasive species along with the boxwood beetles. I know that a couple of years ago, it was very hard to get boxwoods because most of the nurseries had to dispose of them because they were coming in on the boxwoods. The treatment itself is the same. It's just a different insect as far as what we're talking about.
Now, you treat that on a regular schedule, right? You have to. It's not just one and done.
Yeah, you want to stay up with the treatment just because, you just don't know if there's any larvae or infantile, boxwoods or, mosquitoes or ticks or what have you. And each treatment's a little bit different. Like our perimeter pest treatment is done, every, other month. Our mosquito treatment is done every 18 to 21 days. So it really depends on the insect that we're treating, how frequently we need to come out there.
So let's say you start seeing, a deterioration of your boxwood. That's an indication perhaps that you have this boxwood beetle. Can you save that plant?
It really depends, how far, gone is the boxwood. I had some boxwoods at my house, and they were so far gone from the insects, I just ended up tearing them out. And
How long did it take before you noticed it?
Almost instantaneous.
Wow.
After winter had hit, I noticed that my boxwoods had just gotten just destroyed. It's hard for me to treat my property as often as I'd like to. Because I'm so tied up and so busy, I just kind of let my
Shoemaker
property go.
with holes in his shoes?
Pretty much, yeah.
When you're thinking about other things that you can treat, another pest that comes on top of the list is Japanese beetles. Do you treat for those?
We do. It's a similar treatment. I know that a lot of people use those Japanese beetle traps. And they work. You can see, when we go to a property and someone's got the trap on their property, you see it filled with Japanese beetles. But what I would tell people is that there's a pheromone in there, and you're not only attracting, the Japanese beetles on your property, but you're also attracting Japanese beetles from your neighbor's property. So you're bringing a big population onto your yard that you probably don't want. I had an entomologist one time come out with me while we were treating for mosquitoes, and his advice to me is if you want to get rid of Japanese beetles, put the trap on your neighbor's property.
Oh boy. So how do you dissuade pests like that from being attracted to your property? Is it the kind of plants you have, or what draws them?
It is definitely the foliage that you have on your property because they are, going to be more attracted to certain, foliage on your property. That's why it's called a boxwood moth. That's why it's called a boxwood beetle. That's what they're attracted to. So, we enjoy having these plants on our property. They're beautiful. They're pretty. Unfortunately, it comes with that, potential of having those insects on your property.
Let's see, a texter's writing, I'm considering box moth traps as a preventative measure, but wondering if they actually attract them.
Well, they would. They would definitely attract them. That's the whole point of a trap. There's usually some sort of a pheromone in there which, lures them into the trap. You have yellow jacket traps. There's a pheromone in those. That's the whole point of the trap.
Another texter off topic, 1958 ranch, 956 square feet, high humidity in living space. This morning, 55%. Air is off, of course, I hope it is. Pros and cons of installing a whole home dehumidifier. Average cost, installation and running expense. Windows and no bathroom exhaust fan. Well, there you go. There's where I'd start. Bathroom exhaust, especially if in a smaller home like you're mentioning. That moisture that's produced in the bathroom could be enough to tip the scales here. So I would start there. I would put in a bathroom fan and be sure it's properly installed, vented to the outdoors. And in so doing, that would get the moisture that's created in the bathroom, which is a big player here in creating a relative humidity imbalance. So that would be where I'd start. Put a fan in, get a good one, and make sure it's vented to the outdoors and not into the attic. Sending that moisture into the attic is not going to solve the problem. It's going to actually perpetuate the problem, and it's going to create another problem, which is mold growth in the attic. So venting to the outdoors is essential. Another key thing about venting your bathroom fan, it's got to be done properly. It has to be a direct and as short a line as possible. It has to be an insulated line and hopefully under the insulation, or an insulated line that would perhaps run straight up. Insulating it is paramount, because if it's warm air going into your attic, what's going to happen? It's going to create condensation. It's going to drop that moisture back down into the fan. So yeah, there's where I'd start, and then we can talk about what to do after that, after we get that bathroom moisture out. It is the bottom of the hour, and it is time for the top of the news.
ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. A temporary win in court for the Trump administration in
Okay.
its effort to roll back the legal status granted by the Biden administration to almost 500,000 migrants. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has details.
The Supreme Court stay allows the Trump administration to move forward with its plans to strip these migrants
You want to get into
while their
rodents?
case plays out. It affects more than 500,000 people who
Yeah, we
fled
can do
Cuba,
that.
Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela.
There's
You want to talk about
also-
special events?
Rolled by the Biden
We can do that
administration.
too, yeah.
The court's
Let's talk
majority
about both
didn't
of those.
explain its decision, but liberal Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said the court's
Ear
move
control
threatens
would
to
be another
upend
one.
lives. Jackson was joined in her dissent by fellow liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Another change in the president's tariff policy announced Friday. Tariffs on steel and aluminum imports will double to 50% on June 4th. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the U.S. is here to stay in the Indo-Pacific region, speaking at a forum in Singapore. And the upper Midwest could have air quality impacted today from Canadian wildfires. This is ABC News.
It's 10:30. Good morning from the WBEN Paul Davis Restoration Newsroom. I'm Zach Benque. Here's what's happening. Niagara County Sheriff's Office announced the arrest of 23-year-old Lazarus Martin after an incident at the Niagara County Correctional Facility. Authorities say on May 29th, Martin punched and broke a window, causing over $1,700 in damage. He was charged with criminal mischief in the second degree, a felony, and will be arraigned at Niagara County Central Arraignment Court. Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper has completed new enhancements at Thomas Higgins Riverfront Park as part of its Buffalo Blueway project. The upgrades, funded in part by Empire State Development, including a fishing pier, paddle sport access, and shoreline improvements, boosting recreation and public access along the Buffalo River. Checking the WBEN Just Call Jed First Alert forecast for today is shower in spots this morning, otherwise mostly cloudy, breezy, and cooler with an afternoon sprinkle, high 55. Right. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a shower in spots late, low 45. Tomorrow, times of clouds and sun with a couple of showers, breezy and cool, high of 59. And taking a peek at Monday, mostly sunny and warmer, breezy in the afternoon, high of 67. Currently in Buffalo, cloudy and 48 degrees. The WBEN Paul Davis Restoration Newsroom is a newsfeed that never stops. Stay in the know and follow our updated X-feed for the latest by following it WBEN.
Miss a show, segment, or interview? Download the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. Favorite WBEN and listen live to any of our content on demand, wherever you are. This is Hammer Time Radio. Brought to you by Lakeshore Savings Bank, putting people first since 1891.
Well, it is allergy season, and we're learning from Anthony Sheeta about pest control. Spring cleaning time, right? And, we do the obvious things, wash our windows, clean our carpets, the things that you can see. But what about what you can't see, folks? The area that's most neglected and unsanitary and unhealthy. And you know what that area is? Well, yeah, it's your home's heating and air conditioning ductwork system. You've heard us talk about this for over 3 decades now with my friend Peter Gordon, and life-changing duct cleaning service that Indoor Air Professionals provides is what you'll get from them. Let's look at a very recent 5-star Google review that's hot off the presses. It's written by Chris, and he writes, I have had a problem breathing and coughing, tried many different kinds of medicines. I contacted IAP, and they were so helpful and had so much information. They had a great price, and how professional they were. The men were, they came out on time, and they did the cleaning. They were amazed. My cough is almost gone, and I can breathe so much better. I can't believe what came out of my ductwork. I definitely recommend this company. Peter Gordon from Indoor Air Professionals joins me on the live line. Good morning, Mr. Gordon.
Good morning, Dominic. Yeah, that is, we get so many like that get the health results. They don't put 2 and 2 together. Before, I had another woman that called me today, this morning, and said, she called to order more Canberra gel, and she said, I stopped using my Buterol. You know, it's just these are the, and she goes, I've been looking at this for 6 years and thought it was too expensive. So, you know, that's what gets us up in the morning when people have the healing and
Absolutely.
health changes. So, anyways, besides the most thorough duct cleaning, we have amazing medical grade air purifiers that are 40 times more efficient than HEPA filtered units.
That's right, and I can tell you that Diane loves ours, and not only does it clean the bedroom air, but it provides a little white noise too for sleeping. And then there's that awesome April Air high capacity DHU. Peter, I thought something was wrong with mine, but guess what I forgot to do?
Maybe just rinse out the filter?
Yeah, that's it. Rinsed out the filter, and it kicked right back into bringing the humidity down in the basement. It's so vital to do that, especially in high moisture times of year like this.
Yeah, there's probably, you know, hundreds of listeners that have those. So, yeah, it's a good reminder, Dominic, to rinse out your filter on your April high-capacity dehumidifier.
One screw on the right side, it opens the door, and the filter slides out. And another thing I like about this April Air, Peter, you don't have to buy a replacement filter.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so the extra special Hammer Time discounts for the last day of May.
Okay, so let's see. First of all, duct cleaning, we will do $175 off. And, of course, if you're a repeat customer, you may have gotten a postcard, and you might get more, depending on what the percentage is. And we're going to do $400 off that awesome April Air high-capacity dehumidifier and $400 off the portable medical-grade air purifier. And you can call me today for a duct cleaning estimate. It'll only take 5 minutes out of your busy schedule.
716-683-3000. Extension 303 will drop you right into Peter's lap. That's 716-683-3000. Extension 303, Peter's extension. Call him right now. He'll educate you on the benefits of indoor air professionals. Got IAP? Get it today.
Breathe easier. Breathe easier. With indoor air professionals. For every breath you take.
When it comes to remodeling your kitchen or bath, the first step is a visit to Kitchen and Bath Unlimited. With unlimited options of cabinet styles, colors, and high-quality craftsmanship, you'll find exactly what you love. Choose from stunning granite and quartz countertops and even flooring to complete your space. And with my Hammer Time seal of approval, you know you're in good hands.
Can dogwood insects be spread by landscapers?
Near Walden and Cheektowaga, and let their designers create something amazing for you, or at kitchenandbathunlimited.net. Hi, it's Dominic Cortez. Whenever someone asks me, who do you call for roof repair or replacement, I say
What's
call
a dogwood
Roofing and
insect?
Siding. They install over 1.5 million square feet of shingles and siding annually across Western New York. When you call Ava, you get superior service, including expert foreman on every job. Get an on-the-spot free written estimate and project drawing for your roof replacement or repair by calling 343-ROOF or go to avaroofing.com. Ava also offers 0% financing. When quality matters, call Ava Roofing. Why is the Gorilla Floor the best resinous floor on the market? Simple. We're the only company that bold enough to guarantee protection against the #1 cause of garage floor failure, moisture. Every Gorilla Floor includes a vapor barrier at no extra cost. No shortcuts when it comes to long-term protection. In Western New York, with our high water table, that barrier is critical. Protect your garage with a Gorilla Floor and say goodbye to peeling and failure. Ask for the Hammer Time discount. Take 10% off your floor, 400 square feet or more, just in time for spring.
Live, local, Buffalo. All day long. News Radio 930 WBN.
Hammer Time is 10:39, cloudy and 50 degrees. Dominic Cortez and Hammer Time Radio here on WBEN. My guest in studio is Anthony Sheeta from Pest Hunters, Mosquito Hunters, and we're taking your questions regarding all the pests that we deal with all summer long here. 803-0930. Let's travel to Wheatfield and chat with Mike. Good morning, Mike. You're on WBEN.
Good morning. My question for your guest is, have you found any yellow jackets that enter through the vents in the roof?
Oh, yeah.
So they're not really yellow jacket proof as far as? Is it mostly those ridge fence or the box fence?
I mean, they'll find any way to get into
Yeah.
a space.
Yeah.
There's if there's a hole that's big enough for them to get into, they'll find a way to get in.
What exactly are they attracted to, Anthony? What are they drawn to? Why would they enter into the house?
You know, I don't have anything specific as far as like what they're attracted to. I just know that they like building their nest out of like the rain and out of the wind. You know, last year I had a customer that had a really bad yellow jacket problem, and the nest was just, they built it in like in the worst spot possible for me to try to treat it. It was like 30 feet off the ground. I had to get an extension pole and a ladder, and they built it right in between the roofing material and the flashing of the roof, and it was not fun. But you know, they'll just find whatever spot they can to get into, and they'll just build their nest in there.
So yeah, this is really, as I've mentioned several times, a sore subject with me, because until you started spraying, I was having an ongoing and continuing annual problem with yellow jackets. I was stung several times, and as a result of that, I've developed an allergy.
Yeah, you know, I as a kid I've been stung, but you know, the biggest thing is you know, if you know you have a problem, or if you saw a problem last year and you didn't deal with it, take care of it now. Call somebody, because it will continue to be a problem and it will only get worse.
Let's for a minute talk about costs, because I'm sure people are saying, yeah, okay, I can call, but what is it going to cost me? First of all, do you have just kind of a menu of how you go about charging for your services?
Yeah, you know, if somebody has, you know, a yellow jacket problem that, you know, needs to be taken care of, you know, that can range anywhere from, you know, $150 to $200.
And that's a one-time application?
Yeah, because it's just an extermination. We're just removing. And if for some reason during, you know, after we come out there and we treat the property for that issue, if there's still an ongoing problem after, we'll come back out and we'll treat it again at no charge. Obviously, the goal is to take care of it in one shot, but sometimes there's just a few that are flying around, and you just you missed them, and you just got to come back and do it one more time.
And you don't necessarily get to the hive, right? Or do you try to get to the hive?
You absolutely want to try to get to the hive, but there's definitely been yellow jacket exterminations I've been to where you don't want to. I try not to destroy the customer's home. I've had yellow jackets build nests in somebody's siding.
Yes.
And that's where we use our dust application, and the dust will travel through that siding and get to the nest. So we don't have to do any sort of removing of shingles or removing of siding.
Sure.
And it's just a lot more cost effective for the customer.
How about the basic price for mosquito control?
So mosquito control is based off of the acreage of the property. If we have new customers out there, if you have a smaller property and less than a half an acre, an intro spray, which would be the first treatment, would be $39, and then subsequent treatments after that would be $75, and then it goes up from there.
How many times a year do you recommend?
So for mosquito, we always recommend as soon as the weather breaks and as soon as there are leaves on the plants, that's when we want to come out there and start spraying for mosquito. We don't want to come out there and start spraying when there's no foliage, because then there's nothing to spray.
Let's talk about special events, because that obviously is something you want to think about ahead of time if you're planning a backyard gathering, perhaps something even more formal, maybe an outdoor wedding. What do you suggest?
We always recommend 2 applications before that event. This way, the first application is going to be the biggest knockdown, and then you're still going to see mosquitoes flying around. We always let people know that first application is going to knock down the population. You will notice a difference, however, you still will see some flying around. That second application and that third application is where you really start to notice, hey, I'm in Disneyland. There's little to no mosquito activity on our property. So that's why we always recommend at least 2 treatments before any sort of wedding, party, so on.
Okay, 803-0930 if you'd like to participate in the program. We'd love to have you, or you can use that same number to text us, 803-0930. A texter's writing, can dogwood insects be spread by landscapers? My daughter had 3 dogwoods that died after she had her front yard landscape. I don't see dogwoods in her neighborhood yards, in her neighbors' yards. That was my first thought, that they came from the neighbors.
It's possible without going out there and actually seeing. It's hard to say. Sitting here, is it possible that a landscaper had some insect travel with him from one property to the next? Absolutely. But without seeing it, it's too hard to say from here.
Okay. A texter is giving you a that-a-boy, a great, attentive service, reasonable cost, effective treatment of spiders, mosquitoes, and other varmints by mosquito hunters. So that's what it's all about, Anthony, is testimonies from customers. And I can tell by knowing you as long as I have that you do care about what you do.
I do. I treat these properties as if they were my own. The biggest question that we always get is, is it safe? And I wouldn't be in this business if it was, if it wasn't safe.
You are using chemicals, but still,
yeah. But we also have organic options for those people that are just I don't want any synthetic products on my property at all. So we have those options for people. What
about the skeptic who says, well, mosquitoes are part of nature. Let's just let them be?
That's fine. That's your prerogative, and so be it.
But it's the number one killer of men.
Yeah. It's the thing.
Of course, not in our area of the world, but
yeah.
Malaria is carried by mosquitoes.
Yeah, and you hear these stories in other parts of the country about triple E, Eastern equine encephalitis. It's a brain swelling disease that are only carried by mosquitoes. You hear about West Nile. You hear about dengue fever and yellow fever.
But for us, the biggest issue with mosquitoes is the nuisance.
Yeah, they will ruin a nice day out for you in your backyard.
Yep. What kind of spray can be used for carpenter bees, and how much would that cost?
So carpenter bees, it wouldn't be a spray. It would also be that same dusting application like I mentioned before. And that would roughly be about $150.
The issue with carpenter bees is they're drawn to certain kinds of wood.
Yes. Yeah.
They'll actually bore holes in the wood.
Yeah, I've seen some severe damage done by these bees.
Yeah.
If let go.
Now, when we talk about carpenter drawn insects, what about carpenter ants? Because that's a bigger issue that involves a moisture problem somewhere on the property.
Yeah, again, that would be our perimeter pest treatment. Again, we always do an inspection before we go out to the property. But if, there is that moisture, then, we obviously let the customer know, like, hey, I think you have a bigger problem here.
Right.
You might want to contact, somebody like yourself or,
right. Yeah, we're doing a bathroom for a customer who has carpenter ants, and they've had them treated, and they still have them. And my concern is that there's some rotted wood that's, being very closely hidden by finished spaces, by finished surfaces that we're going to find when we start gutting this bathroom.
Yeah, and that's all the little stuff like we can't see until we actually get in there.
Right. The idea of it being drawn to moisture also prompts me to think about silverfish.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of calls about silverfish as much. I think as far as those go, if people have them, they just kind of let them be.
Where I saw the most unbelievable population of silverfish was in an attic that was covered, the surface of the rafters was covered with a finish, and the insulation was packed so tight in those rafter cavities that it was nothing but like a sponge for moisture, and the silverfish just took over the entire attic space.
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah. Let's see. Are your treatments safe for pets?
Absolutely. As long as you give it 30 to 45 minutes to dry, 100%.
Okay. So keeping the pet away for 30 to 45 minutes. Young children, I would think, as well, right?
Same thing, yep.
I know you always put the little signs out. Probably people ignore those more than anything, but those are telling you that an area's just been treated.
Yeah, it's actually a law that we have to put those signs out there. So we got to leave them out for at least 24 hours. That lets other people know that when they're walking by your property that it's been treated with a pesticide of some kind.
How does our listening audience get a hold of you?
They can either go to our website, which is mosquitohunters.com, or they can go to pesthunters.com, and then they can also reach out to us at the office. The phone number is 716-407-3230.
Okay. We're back with another segment with Anthony Sheeta from Mosquito Hunters, Pest Hunters, after this.
Hi, Dominic Cortez here. If your home heats up fast in the summer or your AC is always running, USA Insulation can help. Their premium foam keeps hot air out and cool air in, so your home stays comfortable and energy efficient. Right now, qualifying New York homeowners can get up to 80% of the cost covered with state and federal incentives. They even offer spray foam for businesses. Call 716-431-4500 or go to USAinsulation.com.
USA Insulation.
And tell them Dominic sent you.
Looking for the perfect window treatments? At Budget Blinds of Williamsville, we're locally owned and bring the showroom to you with a free in-home consultation. From shades and blinds to drapery, shutters, and Roman shades, we offer a wide range of options, working with top vendors like Hunter Douglas. Plus, with our 5-year, no questions asked warranty, you can trust us for the long haul. Visit us at 8050 Worley Drive or call today. With over 500 5-star Google reviews, we pride ourselves on exceptional service. Budget Blinds of Williamsville. Quality, service, and value in every window.
Looking to bring the gym to your home? G&G Fitness Equipment has everything you need to build the ultimate home workout space. With premium treadmills and bikes to top quality strength equipment and saunas, G&G offers top brands like Inspire, Light Fitness, Matrix, Grok Fitness, and more. Plus, enjoy financing options with 0 down and 0% interest. Visit us at Williamsville and Orchard Park or online at ggfitness.com. Let us help you build your grade.
Transform every room in your home with Hurdle Home Consignment. New items arriving daily, so you never know what you'll find. Get inspired by their beautifully staged showrooms on Hurdle Avenue in Buffalo and at Georgetown Plaza in Williamsville.
What about
Filled with
cluster
affordable
flies that
furniture
come inside in the
unique
fall?
home accents for bedrooms, living rooms, dining rooms, and
So
more.
cluster
See
flies.
it, buy it, love it, and take it home
What's a
today.
cluster fly?
Hurdle Home Consignment,
It's those
because you've
annoying
got to keep
flies
it
that
decorated. Shop
kinda like hang
online
around
at
the garbage cans and that kind of stuff.
hurdlehomeconsignment.com.
We can do a treatment. It's just they populate so fast.
What are they drawn to?
I mean,
Read the
it's a
news
fly, so it's
online
attracted to
at
trash, it's attracted to
WBEN.com.
dog droppings.
10:53 is Hammer Time. Good morning from Dominic Cortez. Stay tuned. Our second hour, we've got representatives from National Grid coming in. Ken Kajawa, Dave Bertola. Long anticipated visit, and we're excited to be able to have them for our second hour this Saturday morning. We'll be talking about the consumption concerns that people have about blaming smart meters for being more accurate. And then we're going to get into the whole grid capacity, the electrification discussion, and what you need to know about all of that, and some I think some good news too as to what to expect down the line from the idea of electrifying, which I think is probably inevitable, but we'll see, right? 8030930, a texter's writing, what about cluster flies that come inside in the fall? First of all, you got to tell us what a cluster fly is. At our cabin, they crawl through the sashes on the double-hung windows. When we arrive and warm the cabin, they swarm throughout the upstairs. How can we get rid of them from happening every year?
It's just about exclusion, so with pest management, it's not always about applying chemicals. That's usually a last resort type of thing. There's other methods to keeping insects out of our homes, and the biggest one is exclusion. So if there's busted screens, you want to get those fixed and replaced. If there's a door sweep that's got a hole in it, you want to get that replaced. If there's siding that's got cracks in it, you want to get that fixed in place.
Well, what is a cluster fly? How is it different from a regular fly?
It's got a shiny back to it, so that's how you can tell it's a cluster fly. It's got like a sheen to it, and you can do a treatment for it. It's just that they populate so fast that I'm just just honest with people that you're just not going to notice that much of a
Are
difference.
they drawn to a certain thing? Are they drawn to garbage?
Yeah, garbage. You just want to keep the area as clean as possible.
Right. Speaking of drawing to garbage, what about rodents? What are you seeing in the rodent population right now?
So this was actually a pretty busy spring for me, and I was really surprised at the amount of calls that I got in the spring for rodent control. I think people kind of dealt with it for the winter, and then once it got to spring, if you wanted to call that spring, people just kind of got fed up with it. And definitely, I would say that the rodent population is getting a little bit out of control right now in the area. But again, that's all about sanitation, and again, exclusion. Noticing that you have a hole, and it can be as small as the size of a dime for a mouse to get into your home. For a rat, it's the size of a quarter. They will find that, and they will get into your home.
It makes sense to keep the barrier as tight as you can.
Yep.
But what draws them in? Is it the warmth?
Yeah, they're warm-bodied creatures just like we are, and in wintertime they're looking for a warm place to hang out.
That's why mice are drawn to an attic, I would think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, we had a caller speaking about attic vents, roof louvers. This could actually be an entry point for mice.
It can be, yeah. Roof rats, that's a big thing. In terms of that is making sure that the branches, if you have trees hanging over your roof, getting those trimmed back.
Yes. When it comes up on the topic of attics, there's so much to talk about there. I once saw a house that was infested with bats. And of course, bats, are arguably an animal you want around your house for mosquito control. They'd put your mosquito spraying out of business if you had enough of them, right? But getting them allowing them in your attic is hazardous.
Well, yeah, I mean, they carry all kinds of different diseases, and you would definitely not want to have a bat in your attic, in your home, anywhere. That's not something that I get into. That would be more along the lines of like wildlife,
right.
Type of.
Yeah, we had a young man on from Wits End Wildlife. We talked about that, and we talked about trapping raccoons and other animals that are actually attracted to your attic as well.
Yeah, again, it's all about exclusion. I would say after winter kind of gives us a little bit of a break, and walk the property, see what Mother Nature did to your house. See what's going on, and make notes of that stuff, because that will eventually turn into a bigger problem.
And also, if you see droppings, then that tells you, okay, you're not seeing the rodent, but you probably have someone coming in because you saw the issue of the droppings.
That is the number one telltale sign is droppings. If we notice droppings when we're doing an inspection, we can easily tell that there is a problem here.
So funny story as we wrap up the show. This was going back a couple Christmases ago. We were putting a new downdraft in the house, and so the hood was on the outside of the house. That was still in place, but the pipe that led from the hood to the unit was cut away because we were replacing it. Well, a single mouse, crawled through that, got into the basement, and was maybe smelled or was attracted to the fact that my wife had stored in the basement all of the kids' Christmas stockings, and each of them filled with Hershey Kisses. So when we brought the Kisses upstairs, we were noticing they were missing. That next morning, I got up and went down to the basement to do my morning run, and there was a dead mouse laying on the carpet. And I thought, that's unusual. How come this mouse is here, number one? And then, of course, I figured out how he got in.
Sure.
But number two, what made him die? And then, of course, the alarms went off. Oh, my God, he ate the chocolate. And sure enough, he pretty much went through single-handedly all of the chocolate and killed himself.
Mice, rats, they'll find, anything to get into.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of just, again, keeping them out of the home. And there's
All right.
definitely some things that they will
Anthony, again, Pest Hunters and MosquitoHunters.com, and the discount for our listeners.
Yeah, so, we're going to run a special, 10% off of the season. Any treatment, anything that you guys have issues with, give us a call.
All right.
We'll knock 10% off for you.
All right, Anthony, always a pleasure.
Thank
Stay
you.
tuned. The news is next.
From
Good
ABC
job.
News, I'm Brian
Clark. Tariffs have been a key to President Trump's second term, and Friday he announced that one tariff policy is
Changing of the
going
guard.
up regarding imports of steel and aluminum. More from ABC, Selena Wang.
President Trump rallying at a steel mill in
You know,
Pittsburgh,
who knows
vowing to
this
double
break-
tariffs on foreign steel.
We're bringing it up from 25%. We're doubling it to 50%. That means that nobody's going to be able to steal your industry.
Trump also touting an expected deal between
Somebody will
US
sit
Steel
here
and
and
Japan's
somebody will
Nippon
sit
Steel,
there,
but
and there's
revealing
your
few
headphones. I'll come in and
details.
help you adjust that.
Promising the
Maybe a
iconic
volume. If
company
you just
will
turn it
remain
down one notch.
controlled by the USA.
The president bid farewell to Elon
Well, it's good to see you guys.
the administration.
It's been a while.
Criticized the size of the new Republican spending
There's
bill.
so much to talk about.
Rachel Scott
There's so much to talk about. I don't even know where to begin. Big listener concern has been the issue of smart meters being more accurate. And we had an electrician in who said that. You tell me if they're not right.
Yeah, our meters are accurate today, and the smart meters will be accurate going forward.
Do you think that's a fallacy that consumption's up, not up because of smart meters being more accurate in the reading?
I mean, we've installed 850,000 smart meters in our service territory in upstate New York so far, Syracuse, and we're not having issues. NYSEG, the smart meters that have been installed out here in western New York have been done by New York State Electric and Gas for their customers, not national.
Right, I know.
So they've had some challenges. We're using a different type of meter, different technology. I don't want to get into.
No, I don't want you to have to get into that.
Yeah, but they've had issues because they've in the past, this is just confidential between us, they've relied more on estimated meter reads, and I think the smart meters kind of caught up with stuff, whereas with National Grid, we have AMR meters where we're driving a truck down your street and the meter signal is bouncing up. We read the meters much more regularly than they do, and I think that's where...
So then answer this, Ken. Why are people saying their consumption's up?
Well, again, I don't know from NYSEG's standpoint where they were with estimated rates. I can only go by talking to our folks that are administering our program, and we're doing the installs in Syracuse and Albany area. We're not seeing that.
Okay. So it might be a phenomenon related to issues with that.
Yeah, and it gets to how they operate their business, which again, I don't want to start throwing stones at that kind of thing, but I think, for us,
Put your headphones on right there.
the whole reason why we're doing this is the meters
They sound good to you?
we use today, which
Buffalo
are
Niagara
called
Waterkeeper
AMR
has
meters,
completed new enhancements
where
at
we
the
drive
Thomas
the
Higgins
truck down
Riverfront
the
Park
street,
as
the
part of its
radio
Buffalo
signal
Blue
bounces
Wave
off. Those meters
project.
are about 25 years old.
Just
And
pop
it-
them on
The
here and see if
upgrades
they sound
funded
good
in
to you.
part
If I
by
need to
Empire's
put them
development
higher or
includes
lower
a
for you.
fishing pier, paddle sport
not to
access,
hear what's
and
going on.
shoreline improvements,
Good.
boosting
Okay, great.
recreation and
Those
public
meters
access
are
along the Buffalo
reaching
River.
the end of their
It's the latest step
functional
in the region's
And
Rust to
so
Blue
we
transformation
did this
launched during
exact same
Waterkeeper
thing
Weekend to
25
celebrate the
years
start
ago.
of Western New York's
We
water
went from
season.
not smart meters
Resurgence
when,
Brewing Company is bringing back
we're
Pints in the
probably
Park,
about the
their
same age,
popular
somebody
mobile
rang
beer
the
garden
doorbell or
series
knocked
starting
on
on
the door
June
and yelled
6th.
electric.
The
And
series,
walked down
which is
in the
free to
basement and
attend,
pulled out the
turns parks
flashlight
across
and read the
Western New
numbers
York
on
into
the meter.
community gathering
We
spaces with
moved
local
from that
craft beer,
technology
food
to
trucks,
what we're using today. And that's all that
live
we're doing
music,
today
and fun
is
for
now
all
moving
ages.
to
Madeline
a new
Mulholland with
technology.
Resurgence
So the
explains.
issue really at hand then, Ken,
Essentially
is
a
that
mobile pop-up beer
there's different
garden that we
technology
bring to
that
parks
NYSEG
all
is
across
using, which
Western New
could be
York.
causing
We
a
have a
problem
mobile
for
beer
them.
trailer with taps on it, so you can get draft
I don't
beer
know
even though
if
we're
it's
off-site. We also have flex for cider,
as
wine,
much as
high
it
noons,
is.
and cut
I
water.
don't
It's much
know.
anything you could want to drink.
There
And it's
are
a
a
really
few
fun time,
things.
way to enjoy the park.
People's
we bring
bills
food trucks, music,
got
kids
higher,
activities,
we think,
vendors. It's a wonderful way to enjoy our beautiful park
because
system in the summer.
they had a rate increase.
Have you ever wondered
at the
about the
same
future
time
of
that meters
dictionaries?
were going
Well,
up.
starting in half
So
an
the
hour
timing,
and ending
you know,
at 1:30,
in people's
experts are meeting
minds
at the Central
immediately went
Library
to
Auditorium in
new
Buffalo
meter,
to debate
my
will
bill went up,
dictionaries
it's gotta
exist
be
for
the meter.
2075. The free
In
event is
addition to
part of a
that,
national conference
we
exploring the
think
past,
that
present,
NYSEG
and future
relied
of language.
very heavily
WBEN
on
Arthur Pressman Traffic Attorney News Time is
estimated meter
11:05.
reads.
The
And then when the new
WBEN just
meter
called Jet
went
First Alert
in and
forecast
they're
is
doing
coming up
actual
next.
reads, now all of a sudden they're getting an accurate representation of what the customer is
So how do we
using.
address that, the whole consumption issue? Do we
Helping
want
your
to avoid
inner circle
that, or?
prepare for
I
emergencies
mean, I
can
would,
start in
you know,
many ways.
if you were to ask me that
Put
question,
together
I
an
would just
emergency
say
kit with
that,
YPOL. Create a family
you know, the
communication
meters
plan with your
that we're
DTEC.
installing
Remind
across
Buy to
upstate
keep
New
a
York,
backup
we
battery
installed about
charged.
850,000.
It all
We're
starts
not
with a
seeing
simple
any
step,
issues
telling
with
those you care about to be ready for the
discrepancies in
worst.
consumption
So
from
start
the
a
So in your
conversation
footprint, you're
and
not
plan
seeing
for
that.
emergencies
Because it
together.
doesn't change what
Get more
I've been
tips
hearing.
Yeah, I mean, you may get a call from
HRDA.gov/start.
somebody in Lancaster,
Brought to you by
Clarence,
FEMA
who's an
and the
ISID
Ad Council.
customer.
Stay
I
tuned
can't
right
answer,
after Hammer Time for
you know,
Senior
what's
Radio
happening with
Buffalo,
them, and
hosted
I
by
don't
Linda
want to.
Pellegrino.
We'll leave it at
Senior
that.
Radio
Yeah.
is
We'll leave it at
dedicated
that.
to informing and educating baby boomers and active seniors all over Western New York. Coming up at noon. The WBEN First Alert forecast calls for a shower in spots this morning, mostly cloudy, a breezy afternoon, may see a stray sprinkle with a high of 55 degrees. A shower in spots late tonight, the low 45 degrees.
Well, we'll
A
just
mix
leave
of
it at that.
clouds and sun
what
tomorrow,
we're really
a couple
trying
of
to
showers.
do is
Still a
make
breezy
sure
and
that
cool day with a high
to
of
the extent
59, but then we turn the corner on Monday with a high of 67 degrees, lots of sunshine, and a breezy wind. With the WBEN First Alert.
Okay, going into the show.
Meteorologist Chad Merrill.
Currently in Buffalo, cloudy and 49 degrees. The WBEN Paul Davis Restoration Newsroom is a news feed that never stops. Stay in the know and follow our updated X feed for the latest by following at WBEN.
Leaking roof? Need new windows? Looking to remodel your kitchen or bath? You've come to the right place and the right time. Broadcasting on News Radio 930 WBEN since 1989, this is Hammer Time Radio. Now, your host, your man for home improvements, Dominic Cortez. Brought to you by Lakeshore Savings Bank, putting people first since 1891.
Hour number 2 of Hammer Time Radio for this Saturday morning. Special guest in studio, Ken Kajawa from National Grid, along with Dave Bertola. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Thanks
for having us.
It's great to have you here. There's so much to talk about. Let's start with consumption being up. A lot of people are attributing that to the smart meter being more accurate. You're not seeing it that way?
No, so right now National Grid is in the process of rolling out our advanced metering infrastructure initiative known as smart meters. And across our upstate New York footprint, we've installed around 850,000 meters so far. So we're about halfway through our installation, and we're not seeing any issues. You know, we're reading customer meters today, and we're going to continue to read customer meters going forward once the new meters are installed.
So just leave it at this then. We have another utility obviously in the same listening range of our voice here, and there could be issues there that not relate to National Grid.
Correct. Yeah, our rollout is different. The way that we read meters today is different.
Mm-hmm.
The technology that we're using in our smart meters is the most advanced in the industry right now, AMI 2.0. And so as we're doing our smart meter installations in the Albany and Syracuse areas, we're not seeing those issues.
Have you done any conversions yet in the Buffalo area?
So we did a limited rollout of smart meters earlier this year, Southern Erie County, and then the southern tier counties of Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Allegheny. We've installed about 4,000. The pace is going to pick up this summer. National Grid service territory out here in Western New York comprises 11 counties, and we go as far east as Ontario County. We sweep just under the city of Rochester. And so starting in mid-July in Livingston, Ontario, and the southern portion of Monroe, we'll start our smart meter installations mid-July, and then we're going to work our way east to west. So later on this summer, we'll be in the Batavia area, and then by this time next year, we'll be in Metro Buffalo and the southern tier counties as well. And so the plan is to have those installations done by 2027 in that time frame.
So is it your opinion that smart meters are being blamed for increased costs of utility? Obviously, that's not true, and also increased consumption.
Yeah, I can only talk about what we're seeing so far for National Grid and other parts of the state where we provide electric service, and we're not seeing those issues. The way that we view the smart meter installation is the meters that customers have today have been in place for about 25 years, and those meters are reaching the end of their functional life. So those meters have to be replaced, and the new meter that we're putting in is going to look almost identical to what a customer has at their home today. The only difference is that those meters offer additional features, functions, and benefits that technology today affords us. And so we're going to be able to benefit from National Grid standpoint by having smart meters at customer homes, because we are going to know the very instant that that meter is not powered, that the customer is out of power. The days of a customer having to call us and tell us that they're out of power, we're going to know immediately. In addition to that, customers are going to be able to get information on how they're using energy in their home in real time. They're going to be able to go out to our website. They're going to be able to see interval by interval how much energy they're using in their home. In addition to that, starting in 2026 in Western New York, our customers that have smart meters installed are going to have access to an app called Sense, S-E-N-S-E. And we've partnered up with Sense, and you're going to be able to go on your phone, and you're going to be able to see what appliances in your home are using the most energy. And the hope is, at the end of the day, our customers become smart and efficient consumers of electricity. For those of us that are old enough, when I talk about smart meters, I like to talk about the old Sims clothing commercials, where their tagline was, "An educated consumer is our best customer." And we're looking at smart meters in that same format. We want customers to have as much information available to them as possible so that they're making smart decisions on how they consume energy in their homes. And the smart meters give us that ability to do it.
January 1, 2026, right around the corner. Any new home built in New York State has to be 100% electric. Broad question to start, Ken. Are we ready for that?
So, from National Grid standpoint, we've been planning for years, anticipating that we are going to continue to see increased energy consumption on our system. And so we are rebuilding our infrastructure as our rate filings allow us to, as we get money from the Public Service Commission in a rate case. A lot of that money is directed towards reinvesting back in our infrastructure, whether it's rebuilding stations, rebuilding transmission circuits. We just finished a rebuild down in the southern tier, 2 transmission circuits that serve the southern part of the county. The circuits originate in West Seneca. They go down to Dunkirk, but they'll have a big impact on reliability down in southern Erie County. That was a $140 million project. We're constantly looking to reinvest in our infrastructure. We have to make sure that we're ready as we see continued penetration of electric vehicles, electric heat pumps. We don't have the luxury of guessing whether or not it's going to happen or not. We have to be ready. And all of the forecasts, all the projections indicate that electricity consumption is going to continue to increase,
And so National Grid has to continue to invest in our infrastructure to make sure that we're meeting capacity needs, and most importantly, making sure that we're providing safe and reliable service to our customers.
So reliable is a key component to your answer there. When we talk about reliability, of course, we harken back to the last time you were here when we had the blizzard and we had a lack of reliability because the snow impacted sites that didn't allow the electricity to be conveyed. When we talk about reliability, we talk about the fact that natural gas is used to generate electricity in most cases, correct?
Yeah, but I would say roughly about 40%, maybe a little bit more, of electricity generated in New York State, natural gas is the fuel source.
And so when we talk about that, you wonder how natural gas became the enemy when, we're still going to use it to generate electricity. But then we actually layer on top of that, recently the New York State Independent Systems Operator, which operates the state's electrical grid, said that renewables are not meeting the next tier of requirement, which is what we've been told is going to be the next frontier for us is renewables, wind and solar. The integration of that into the grid. How effective have they been so far with that?
Well, so just so everyone understands, National Grid does not own wind or solar. That is controlled and that is done in the marketplace. A developer will identify a location where they may want to locate a solar farm or a wind farm, and National Grid by law has to allow them to interconnect to our system.
How easy is it to do that, though?
Well, there's a whole state process that's laid out. It's a standardized process by which a developer that's looking to build a wind farm or a solar farm has to contact National Grid. We have to study the impact of that wind or solar farm on our system. Does it require us to have to make investments in our infrastructure to be able to accept that power? So those projects continue to come in. But again, we don't have any control over it. Our job is to make sure that they can interconnect with our system. And so, whether or not the state is moving forward at pace versus what had been originally forecasted, we really don't have any control over it. We identify those projects as they come to us as needing to interconnect with our system, and then our engineers and other folks in the company do our work to see what it would require them to interconnect with National Grid.
So assuming that, January 1, again, right around the corner, you say you're continuing, obviously, sensibly upgrading the system to be able to put out more electricity. Are we going to be ready when every house after January has to be electric? And is it going to be the renewables that are going to save us, or are we going to fall on our face with that as well?
Well, the renewables play a part, but we still need baseline load. And so whether here in Western New York, the largest producer of electricity is the New York Power Authority's Robert Moses Power Project, which is a hydro plant. Everyone's moving in that direction of trying to make sure that the grid is ready. The challenge is it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money in order to be able to make significant investments in our infrastructure. And so we've been working on this for quite some time, knowing where things are heading from a technology standpoint. And the question now is, how fast can we make those investments? We're moving as quickly as we possibly can, knowing that, whether it's rebuilding a substation or rebuilding a transmission line, it takes years of planning in order to pull that off, and then the construction time. And so we realize that we have an important responsibility to make sure that we're going to be ready as we continue to see electric growth on our system.
So much to talk about here with Ken Kujawa from National Grid. You'd like to participate in the program, we'd love to have you. 803-0930 in the 716. Outside Buffalo, 1-800-616-WBEN. The Volkswagen of Orchard Park text board, lots of people writing there. We'll try to get to everybody, 803-0930. This is a special edition of Hammer Time Radio for our second hour. We're back with more with Ken Kujawa right after this. People are all over the place here. National Grid has a vehicle that travels local city streets in a zip code that is a receiver of RF meters and structures.
Yeah, so that's how we, so today with the AMR meters, nobody comes to your home.
Right.
We drive a van up the street, and the radio signal from the meter,
That's how it's done
it's our
now.
van. What we're doing now is we've actually installed infrastructure on our poles. It's not on every pole, but we're installing a network on our poles, and so when the new smart meter goes in, the van won't drive down the street anymore. It'll talk to, and there's no connection to the home Wi-Fi system. We're not connecting any data. It's strictly the meter talking to a device on our pole.
Someone's saying our meter was upgraded to smart meter last fall. Power went out in March, and lo and behold, National Grid had zero idea that happened. When I called in, also entered it using the app. Ours was considered a brand new outage, and they had no foreknowledge of.
We only have, we don't have a lot out here, so I would need to make sure that they know.
Portage Road, Niagara Falls.
We haven't installed any smart meters
I don't know
in
if
Niagara
that's
Falls.
connected to that question.
Yeah, the smart meters that we installed were in like Angola, Branch, North Collins.
Negative health effects on smart meters. That's a big fallacy.
Yeah, so the RF signal that the smart meter puts out is less than that of a cell phone, less than that of a microwave in your house.
Sounds too good to be true.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
it is. But there's a catch. Indoor air professionals will tell you it's
fallacy
impossible
that
because
we're
we shed
connecting to
50
your
million
Wi-Fi
skin
or
cells
putting
daily.
out this
But
huge
their
signal
customers
is
swear
not
by
true.
the results.
The
Indoor air professionals can
meters
improve
that
dust,
we have in your
allergies,
home today
asthma, and
put
even
out
your
an
heating
RF
and cooling
signal.
system. They've even found
It's
lost
the
money
same.
and
It's just
joy.
that
So call Peter at
we're using a different
683-3000
technology to
extension
collect the
303 for
information
amazing
from the meters.
deals.
We're not using the truck anymore. We're using a device up on a pole outside
Susan
to
Rose here.
collect that.
Attention homeowners and contractors. Need kitchen or bath cabinets? But fast?
like this
Kitchen
guy
and
here,
Bath Unlimited
farmer in
delivers
Livingston
Wolf cabinets in
County.
under a week. Say
Paid
farewell to your
$900
search
to
for
go up.
quality,
Paid
discounted,
$900
and
smart meter
hassle-free
installed.
cabinetry.
We haven't
Discover
installed
Wolf's
smart
stunning
meters
Maplewood
in Livingston
cabinetry
County.
collection tailored to your
Are they
style.
a nice
Choose
thing?
from a variety of paints
Livingston
and
County
finishes.
split.
Visit Kitchen and
So,
Bath Unlimited, located on Union,
That's
north
why I
of
said a
Walden.
lot of these folks.
So we'll get to all that, but what I want to also get into is this discussion about
Buffalo. All
electrifying.
Day long. News Radio 930 WBEN.
Oh, we're gonna go to Electric Avenue.
11:22 is Hammer Time. Dominic Cortez in studio with Ken Kajawa from National Grid, and we're talking about electrification. We talked about smart meters. We got a little bit more to talk about with that, which we'll get to, but I want to jump into the idea of January 1 being right around the corner, the costs associated with building an electric home, 400 amp service as compared to a 200 amp service, the reliability of heat pumps and the fact that they have temperature sensitivities, and the fact that we won't have a standby generator to save us in a power outage. What do you have to say about all of that?
Yeah, I mean, National Grid doesn't have any control over where the state goes in terms of setting statewide policy. I think what I would say is our focus is to make sure that National Grid, wherever things head in Albany, at the end of the day, National Grid is focused on making sure that we meet our customer capacity needs and that we meet our mandate, which is to provide safe and reliable service to our customers. We need to make sure that we are focused on having our infrastructure to a point where we're as resilient as possible. The weather, obviously, in Western New York, presents challenges to us.
On that point, Ken, when you talk about the weather, we lived through the blizzard, and again, you had issues with some of your sites being impacted by snow. So the reliability side of the coin, we don't have those issues with gas. why are we moving away from gas when it is, I think, at the end of the day, more reliable?
Yeah, that's a question for our elected officials. They're the ones that are determining state policy, in terms of where we're going to move forward from an energy perspective. For National Grid, we believe in customer choice. We believe that both the electric and the gas system work in tandem and work and complement each other. And we believe that, going forward, that provides us with the most flexibility and provides the most benefit to our customers. There's a lot of balls in the air right now, in terms of where things are going to land in Albany. But at the end, we believe in customer choice and making sure that we can continue to provide safe and reliable service to our customers.
Right now in the Assembly, there's a bill that speaks about allowing a neighborhood to be completed if it started already, so it doesn't have to go to 100% electric on January 1. And it kind of makes sense. If a builder started in a neighborhood already, he's got gas infrastructure already coming down the street. House A is not going to be is going to be gas powered perhaps, and House B January 1 has to be electric. So this Assembly proposal allows for grandfathering till that street's completed.
Yeah, again, these are proposals that are out there right now. We don't, from National Grid standpoint, wherever the state decides state energy policy is going to go, we have to make sure at the end of the day that we're going to meet those power needs. And I guess maybe for our customers.
Maybe I don't want to speak for you, but are you concerned that the utilities, the electric providing utilities, are going to look bad in the fact of in the case of failure because the grid isn't ready for this expansion?
What our focus is right now is we know that electric demand is going to continue to grow on a statewide basis. It's happening across the nation. Right. This isn't a phenomenon unique to Buffalo and Western New York or New York State for that matter. This is a national issue. And so as a utility company, what we have to be able to do is have the infrastructure in place in order to make sure that we can provide safe and reliable service to our customers. The pace and the scale at which we are investing in our infrastructure is increasing. Right now, we're gearing up to rebuild about 1,000 miles of transmission infrastructure across upstate New York. We're rebuilding stations. I mentioned the transmission project that we completed recently. For our customers in North Tonawanda, we're wrapping up rebuilding Station 122 on Summer Street. Brand new substation. It's a multi-million-dollar investment. In Niagara Falls, we're rebuilding substations on 8th Street, Stevenson Avenue, and Welch Avenue. In the city of Buffalo, we're rebuilding Station 32, which is in the Bailey, East Sullivan area. We're gearing up to rebuild our Lockport station. We recently completed rebuilding large stations in Niagara Falls, Dunkirk, $50 million to rebuild the Huntley station in Tonawanda. We're trying to move as rapidly as we can.
I would think that the ramping up to electrification is going to be sensitive to the capacity, right? To be able to put more into the grid is going to be tied to, is the grid going to be able to perform? And then also, how receptive are the builders going to be to electrification in building electric homes? And are they going to look for alternatives to not being 100% electric reliant? If they can't use natural gas, can they use something else? Is there anything being proposed in a hybrid scenario that you might want to talk about where we're mixing another element into an electric consumption?
Well, the market's going to respond to what the law is going to dictate, and the marketplace and new technologies that are going to be out there, I would anticipate that you will see builders, developers identifying those technologies to incorporate in homes so that they are in compliance with state law, but at the same time looking to make sure that from a reliability standpoint, customers are in a good position. Does that mean that they put a battery in their home that allows them to potentially operate equipment in their home if we were to have a large-scale power outage? We have 70 or 80 mile-an-hour winds come through. Does a battery in your home give you the ability to ride through that? I think all of that technology is I don't want to say it's in its infancy, but it's still developing. And I think over time you could see those types of technologies be incorporated into homes.
My concern is that from what I hear from being on the street is that builders aren't ready, electricians aren't ready, and they're actually kind of afraid of what's coming because they're not ready as a result of that. And the big issue of what do we do in a power outage when you can't have a generator, nobody has an answer to that question, you know?
Yeah, those are all things that I think as the discussions are occurring in Albany, they need to be taken into account.
That's right.
We don't have the ability to make the law. We react to what state policy is, and then we have to make sure at the end of the day that, again,
Before we go to the news break, Ken, at 11:30, a texter's writing, are there any health effects that we need to be worried about with smart meters?
No, the smart meters that we are installing have a low-level radio frequency that's produced that is less than what you see in a cell phone, microwaves, wireless internet, laptop computers.
So it's something we're already experiencing already.
Yeah, the meter that we have in your house today for a National Grid customer.
All right, so it is coming up to the bottom of the hour. We'll finish that point and all the other discussion points right after this. Sorry. It's a hard network break, so I had to jump on it.
Law dialogue in Singapore warned that China could be an imminent threat.
President Trump and the American people have an immense respect
The only thing that I'll say is
for the Chinese people and their civilization.
I think people are worried.
But we will not be pushed out of this critical region.
This is what a meter.
And we will not let our allies and partners be subordinated and intimidated.
Can we say what is it?
Friday, President Trump announced that tariffs on steel and aluminum imports will double on June 4th to 50%. The Supreme Court allowed the Trump administration to continue moving forward with its plans to roll back the legal status for about 500,000 immigrants that was granted during the Biden administration. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the former Democratic vice presidential nominee, told the Democratic group today in South Carolina the party's lost its way, including a big chunk of the working class. And air quality in the upper Midwest could be impacted today from wildfire smoke. This is ABC News.
The flip phone, when it came out, gave us features that we never envisioned before, and then eventually we took the flip phone and said we can make it better, and we moved to a smartphone.
It's a learning curve, it's growing pains.
County Correctional Facility. Authorities say Martin punched and broke one of the windows, causing over $1,700 in damage.
This is
He's been charged with criminal mischief in the second degree, a felony, and will be arraigned at Niagara County Central Arraignment Court. Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper has completed new enhancements at Thomas Higgins Riverfront Park as part of its Buffalo Blue Way project.
They are different
the
than
upgrade,
us.
funded in part by Empire State Development, includes a fishing pier, pedal sport access, and
This is what
shoreline
you will have
improvements.
on your phone.
That's cool.
Checking
So
the
you will get to
WBEN
see
just called Jed First Alert
your
forecast
usage,
for today. A shower in spots
and
this
you
morning,
will be
otherwise
able
mostly
to
cloudy,
drill it
breezy,
down
and
to
cooler
every
with an afternoon
appliance in
sprinkled
your
high
home.
55.
But you don't need smart
Tonight, mostly
technology on
cloudy
those
with a shower in
appliances,
spots
do you?
late, low 45.
So what will happen
Tomorrow,
is
times
you
of
will take
clouds
the
and
Sense
sun with a
app,
couple of
and
showers,
you will go in
breezy,
your
and
house,
cool, high
and you will
59.
turn on
Take a
your
peek at
dishwasher,
Monday, mostly sunny
and
and
the
warmer,
Sense app
breezy in the
will
afternoon, high of 67.
identify that
Currently in
unit
Buffalo,
and its
cloudy
draw,
and 49
and then
degrees.
you'll code it
The
dishwasher,
WBEN Paul
and
Davis
you'll be able
Restoration
to go
Newsroom
around your
is
house,
newsfeed that never stops.
and so
Stay in the know and
you'll
follow
be
our
able
updated
to see
XP for the latest
how
by
much
following
you're
at
using
WBEN.
every month.
That's
You're going to get a dashboard that tells you whether you use more or less energy this well. And then you're going to get these bubbles on your phone that's going to say this is what's using the most electricity in your house right at this very moment.
AC.
So now, let's think back to, whether when we were kids or we chase our kids around the house, you walk around the house and the lights are on in their bedroom. Now, and you walk in, you shut the lights off, don't keep the refrigerator open. Now you're going to be able to go to your kids and speak to them in a language that they understand. You're going to say, look, this is what's happening in our house. So
cool.
this is where we're taking this.
I like it.
We're not trying to be Big Brother or anything. But technology now allows us to give people this information.
Right.
And what we want customers to do is use this information to be smart consumers of electricity.
With flexible financing to fit your
All right.
budget. Visit TRSheatingandairconditioning.com for details. TRS Heating,
Did
Air
we
Conditioning, and Electrical
mention?
powering
Well, we should just want to mention that you're not tied into the grid. I mean, into the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we can pick that up when we get that. I can just talk about the RF signal again, and then I'll say Wi-Fi, and I'll get it back to you.
I want to get off smart meters, though. There's so much else here.
Moisture. Every Gorilla floor includes a vapor barrier at no extra cost. No shortcuts when it comes to long-term protection. In Western New York, with our high water table, that barrier
It seems as though Albany has to put the former Office of Cannabis Commissioners in charge of conversion from gas to electric, and there's no way the grid is ready for any of this. It's not broken, don't fix it. Allow the money,
Lakeshore Savings
follow the money, who's giving us the permits and who's selling the equipment. Developers who are buying the land and buying Albany politicians. Captain's obvious. This poor guy can't come right out and say, go vote these people out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into the Albany, but there was an article in the Buffalo News maybe a month or so ago. They canvassed all 19 state elected officials in New York State on how they felt about the heat act. And it was 19-0, they were against it. This is being driven by downstate.
energy efficient. Right now, qualifying New York homeowners can get up to 80% of the cost covered with state and federal incentives. They even offer spray foam for businesses. Call 716-431-4500 or go to USAinsulation.com.
I think electrification in New York City makes sense to some extent.
So
Hi, it's Dominic Ortiz. Whenever someone
that's
asks
the
me, who do you call for
challenge,
roof
and
repair or
so
replacement, I
you know
say
we
call
try to
Ava
make
Roofing
our
and Siding.
feelings
They install
known.
over 1.5
And as I said
million
earlier,
square
we
feet of
believe
shingles
that
and
the
siding
gas and the
annually across
electric
Western
grid
New York. When you call
should
Ava,
continue
you
to
get superior
operate in the
service,
manner that it
including
is
expert
today.
foreman on every job.
We
Get
are
an
not
on-the-spot free written estimate
anti-gas
and
in any
project
way,
drawing
shape, or
for your
form.
roof replacement
But
or repair by
at the end of the day,
calling
it's the state senators and the state assembly and the governor that are going to decide this, and then we have to react to it.
When quality matters, call Ava Roofing. Attention contractors, this is Dominic Ortiz here to remind you that Herb Company is your trusted source for top quality contractor installed products. From tankless hot water heaters to energy efficient boilers and radiant heating systems, Herb has what you need
That's
to
the
stay
number
ahead
one
of the
way that
curve.
people
With building
communicate
code
now
changes
with
coming
us.
next
They
year,
don't
costs
call
are
as
likely
much
to
as they
rise.
text.
So now's the time to lock in
So
savings.
service
Visit
wires.
herbcompany.com or call one
the
of our knowledgeable
substation
sales
in
associates
Angola,
at
Evans, I talked about that big
825-1400
transmission
today. Plan
project.
ahead and save
That's
with
going
Herb
to
Company, your
impact
partner
positively
in
that
excellence.
area. Because the
Hi, it's Dominic
transmission
Ortiz, looking for
circuits that go
energy-efficient
into the
windows that stand up
substations
to Western New York weather.
All right, we'll come back with that caller, and then this is a good one. From a usage consumption standpoint, is it better for us to unplug things as TV, cable boxes, microwaves when not in use, or just leave them plugged in 24/7?
For more info on 400 series windows from
It's got nothing to do with
visit
consumption.
blanco.supply.
You know, unless you're leaving your TV on overnight, where you're actually running the TV like it is now, if you shut your TV off.
Right.
So.
.11:37 is Hammer Time. Stay tuned to Senior Radio following the 12 o'clock news. My guest in studio, Ken Kanjawa from National Grid, and we're speaking about electrification of our society. Let's go to Buffalo and chat with Peter. Good morning, Peter. You're on WBEN.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course. Go right ahead.
So I was telling the screener that over the last 3 years, we've completed a complete conversion to electricity for our home. It's an older home. 1915 was when it was purchased, but gradually everything we have now is electric, and I turned off the gas line, saved the $30 a month that they charge you, and we couldn't be happier. It was inexpensive. Each appliance that we got that was electric was better than the previous gas appliances. We even have a generator that's an electric generator that is easily. We've used it 3 different times, and very.
How does it operate? Does it have batteries?
Yeah, so we have the outdoor devices that use batteries. The lawnmower, the snowblower, everything else use interchangeable batteries. So I thought about it, and by doing these various things, I was accumulating these batteries, and then I just bought 4 more of them. So now I have a total of 10, and I have a generator that runs off these batteries. It's easy to charge, and soon I'm talking to an electrician. We're going to get a transfer switch and switch it into our home electrical supply.
Have you done any studies, Peter, as to the consumption and cost difference between a 100% electric home and a home that formerly had gas?
Well, I can just tell you from my experience, what we're experiencing is much less expensive than running the gas. And then there's other issues. I mean, I know a lot of times they talk about the stovetops, and we had one, a really nice one. But I noticed my wife, who has asthma, would have recurring problems when she was cooking. So I did some research. I was a chemistry teacher for 34 years, teaching Regents and AP chemistry. And I did some research, and the burning of the gas, besides the carbon dioxide and the water vapor, produces several other very dangerous chemicals. And they were affecting her health. So I looked around and I got an electric induction stovetop, and it's magic. It's beautiful. It's incredible. It's very different than the old electric stove.
Are you heating with a heat pump?
Yes, that was the last thing we just did. We just switched over to a heat pump for our first floor, and then for the second floor we have what they call mini splits in each room that can be controlled individually.
Have you seen any issues with temperature sensitivity on their proper operation?
No, it's been good. It's a great thermostat. We set the thermostat, and it's been, and we actually, so we had it installed late March, early April. So, but the paperwork explains that it's good down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. You do lose capacity as the temperature gets lower, but yeah, your threshold is around there.
Yeah, maybe. I have a plug-in hybrid car, and I noticed in the winter, normally normally in the summer I get around 44 miles per charge, but in the winter it gets down to about 36.
Yeah. The last thing I want to ask you about, Peter, is have you thought ahead about all these batteries that you now have as far as recycling them?
I mean, the research I did on them says that I'm not going to have to recycle them, but I'm sure I just went out to Depew today and dropped off some chemicals that's been sitting around. But there's safe ways of disposing of these things. One last thing, probably the best thing we did is we put in solar panels on our roof. We put 18 of them up there, facing south and east and west, and we generate 7.4 megawatts each year with them. I've had them for more than 3 years, but I've had them for 3 full years, and it's just beautiful because.
Well, good for you for being proactive here and kind of getting ahead of the curve as to what's coming. And I'm glad to hear all your testimonies and your explanations as to how this has benefited you and your family, especially for your wife's health benefit. So thanks for sharing all that with us, Peter. Let's move along to Lancaster and say hello to Bob. Good morning, Bob. You're next.
Yeah, I had 2 questions. I was wondering where the electricity from Niagara Falls goes, because years ago I heard it went to California. I don't know if that's true or not. And also there was a farmer that lives in Livingston County that was on the David Belladia show.
Okay.
Her electric bill is $900 a month. All the time that she got a smart meter put in, it went to $18,000.
Yeah.
$18,000.
Wow.
Yep. We haven't installed any smart meters in Livingston County yet. That is moving forward, so that would be a different utility company than National Grid. So I can't speak to that issue.
Talk about where the Niagara Falls power goes.
Sure. So the Robert Moses Power Project is operated by the New York Power Authority, and by federal law, half of the electricity or the capacity that comes out of Robert Moses is earmarked for municipal electric systems. So here in Western New York, that's Akron, Springville, Jamestown, Falconer, Salamanca. Those are municipalities that operate their own electric system. And so by law, half of that capacity is dedicated for municipal electric systems across
And
the
those
state.
systems are cheaper too on the rate. The rate for
Yeah,
homeowners.
they are, because you're getting low cost hydropower from the New York Power Authority, and so you do see that those municipalities tend to see lower electricity prices than you would from the investor-owned utility. The other big thing that folks need to realize is that 695 megawatts of capacity out of Robert Moses is earmarked for industry within a 30-mile radius of the Robert Moses Power Project. So if you go out about as far east as Medina, and then you sweep through the southern portion of Erie County, obviously all of Niagara County, a portion of Genesee County. So if you think of the largest manufacturing companies here in Western New York, the chances are really good that they're getting an allocation of power from the New York Power Authority. And what it does is it allows those companies to be competitive either in their marketplace and or within their corporate structure, because the low cost power from NYPA helps them keep their electric costs down. And so NYPA is a really important stakeholder here in Western New York with the power that they generate.
Have you done any tests yet to determine what impact a 400 amp service, repeated house after house, is going to have on the grid's capacity?
Not that I'm aware of. I would have to talk to our folks to see if any of that has been done. But, obviously, we have to be ready. So as we see more and more electrification on our system, we have to make sure that our grid is capable of handling that. And, I talked earlier about the investments that we're making. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's more to come.
To Marilla, let's go say hello to Jim. Jim, you're on WEN.
Good morning.
Hi.
This may not be a question for the gentleman there because he's with National Grid, because we're with NYSEG out here.
Okay.
In the month of May, we lost power out here 4 times for a total of about 21 hours.
Okay.
In which case, the natural gas generators came on and gave us backup power. What is being done to solve the problem where we lose power so often in the rural areas?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I mean, what causes the power to go out?
So, there's a variety of reasons. Weather is obviously a huge driver. Wind, at this time of the year, wind plays an important role in potentially producing power outages, and that coincides with vegetation management. So the utility companies go through, I can speak for National Grid, we trim trees along our circuits in 5-year cycles, and it's important that the utility companies be allowed to do that, because as we trim, that keeps tree branches off of our wires. When tree branches contact our wires, that's when customers can see what's called a trip and a reclose, where your power goes out. It'll be out for maybe 30 seconds. If it comes back on, it meant that branch maybe hit that wire and then moved off the wire, and our system is sensing that everything's okay, stay in service. But if that tree comes down and is resting on our wires and isn't moving, that's when the line locks out and then power goes out. We have to send a crew out, a line crew, a forestry crew, in order to respond. So we try to be as proactive as we possibly can, tree trimming along our circuits in order to eliminate that potential hazard. Animals play a role.
Yeah, we had a power outage. It was a nice neighborhood, but I guess a flock of birds or something got into a transmitter.
Sometimes that'll happen. We try to put up squirrel guards, and we try to protect against that. And then, sometimes equipment will fail. We put our equipment in to run for long periods of time, for decades.
Which brings up the question that relates to this: when the power reactivates, should we be concerned about surges?
Yeah, if you do lose power, I would say it's probably not a bad idea to go to some of the more sensitive equipment in your house, like your TV or your computer, and just unplug them. And then, turn the lamp on. And then when the power does come on and you see that light bulb is gone back on, now you have power. Plug those units back in.
Do you advocate that every home should have a surge protection system?
Yeah, I think, anything that customers can do in order to protect equipment in their homes, I think is definitely a good thing.
11:50 is Hammer Time. We're back to wrap things up with Ken Kajawa from National Grid right after this.
There's not enough time to get into everything.
Yeah, I could sit here for a couple hours.
Attention
Yeah,
homeowners
with
and contractors
outages,
need kitchen or bath
every
cabinets, but
situation,
Fast Kitchen and Bath
you need-
Unlimited
you could
delivers
have,
both cabinets in under a week.
a
Say
piece of equipment
farewell
can
to your
fail.
search for quality, discounted,
we
and
have
hassle-free cabinetry.
tens of
Discover
thousands
Wolf's
of
stunning
transformers.
Maplewood
We have,
cabinetry collection
I
tailored
think,
to
over
your
100,000
style and budget.
poles we have
Choose
to
from a
maintain.
variety of
You know,
paints
I
and
mean-
finishes. Visit Kitchen and Bath
I mean,
Unlimited.
again,
located
not to
in
rub
Union.
that same store, but
Online at
none of that
kitchen and
happens with natural
unlimited.net.
gas.
Summer in Western
Correct.
New York. We wait
Yeah,
for it
I
all
mean,
year and live
that's
for
the
every sunny minute.
benefit,
Dominic
right?
Cortez here. Make sure
you
your
know,
home
if
stays comfortable
we
all
have
season
bad
long
weather roll
with a
through
$99 health
the
and
gas
safety
networks
checkup
underground.
from TRS Heating and Air Conditioning. Need an
Electric,
upgrade?
not
TRS can
practical
recommend a
to
high-efficiency
have
ream
everything
system to keep
overhead.
you cool with the heat. With
When a
flexible
new
financing to
subdivision
fit your budget.
is
Visit
being built,
TRSheatingandairconditioning.com for
we
details.
can
TRS
put all the
Heating, Air
infrastructure in it.
Conditioning, and
And
Electrical
you have
Excellence.
underground
Powering tomorrow.
residential
Comforting
developments
today.
today. Right, I live in one. But at some
Why is
point
the
in
grill
time,
floor the best
the
residence floor
electric
on the market?
wires that
Simple.
provide
We're
the
the only company
service
that
for that
bold enough to guarantee
URD
protection against
come
the
in
number one
overhead.
cause of garage
And
floor
so,
failure, moisture.
we're always
Every gorilla
subject
floor includes a
to
vapor barrier at
weather,
no extra cost. No
animals,
shortcuts when it comes to long-term
making
protection.
sure that our
In
equipment
Western New York, with our high
is
water
up to
table,
snuff,
that
but,
barrier is critical.
stuff happens.
Protect your garage with a gorilla floor and say
you know,
goodbye to peeling
cars
and
drive
failure.
into our
Ask for the
poles in
Hammer
the
Time
middle of the
discount.
night,
Take
and
10% off
you have
your
a motor
floor,
vehicle
400
accident,
square feet or more.
and,
Just in
you know,
time for spring.
customers
Imagine a
won't
dust-free
see that.
environment in your
They
home
just
or
know that their
workplace.
power
Sounds
went
too
out,
good
and
to
they're
be
like,
true.
okay,
Well,
National
it
Grid
is.
has a problem.
But there's a
They
catch.
may not know
Indoor Air
that 2
Professionals
miles
will tell you
away,
it's impossible
somebody at
because
2
we shed
o'clock in the
50
morning
million
drove
skin
into one
cells
of our
daily,
poles and
but
knocked
their
everything
customers swear
down.
by the results.
Everyone's saying that this guy, Peter, that called is
They've even found
full of it.
lost money in jewelry. So call Peter at 683-3000 extension
Yeah,
303
I mean,
for
you
amazing
do
deals.
have people though, from a, when you look at
Lakeshore
society
Savings
as a
Bank
whole, there are
believes in
people
community
that
banking with
want to be
exceptional
at the
customer
forefront of
service and
everything. They
local
want to be
expertise.
early adopters.
Lakeshore
They want to
Savings
be the
is here
first
to help
person
you
with
with all
the
your
new
financial needs.
computer,
From
the
home
person
financing
with
to
the
small
new
business
iPhone.
financing. Lakeshore Savings gives
There
you
are people
access
out there
to local
that,
bankers who are dedicated
believe
to serving
that,
the community. Visit
like
one
he
of
did,
Lakeshore
being all
Savings
electric
Bank's
is a
10
good
Western
thing.
New York
And,
branches. Call
that's his choice. And,
716-366-4070
whether
or
a
visit
customer does that or wants
lakeshoresavings.com
to
today.
continue with gas
Lakeshore
and electric
Savings
from
Bank,
National Grid standpoint,
putting
we're
people
different.
first
If
since
that's what they want, that's
1891.
what they should
Hi,
have.
Dominic Cortez here. If your home heats up fast in the summer or your AC is always running, USA Installation can
I
help.
can't believe you
Their
let
premium
Peter get
foam
away with
keeps
those
hot
lies
air
in
out
his
and
agenda.
cool air in, so
But
your home stays
I didn't tell him what to
comfortable and
say.
energy efficient. Right now, qualifying New York
Of course,
homeowners can
I
get up
did
to
ask him
80%
about
of
the
the
battery
cost covered
disposal,
with
which is
state
a
and
huge
federal
issue that I
incentives.
think
They
has
even
been
offer
swept under the
spray
rug.
foam for businesses. Call 716-431-4500
Yeah,
or go to
Sun-
usaiinsulation.com.
Yeah, Sun
that does
And tell
that
Dominic
type
sent
of
you.
work with taking batteries.
Stay tuned right after Hammer Time for Senior Radio Buffalo, hosted by Linda Pellegrino. Senior Radio is dedicated to informing and educating baby boomers and active seniors all over Western New York. Coming up at noon.
The electric slide, very appropriate, Jerry. Thank you for that. 11:53 is Hammer Time. Ken Hujawa from National Grid. We spent a lot of time trying to get to the core questions and core issues. People are ranting here about the caller Peter, that I let him get away with his agenda. I don't know whether I did that. I think I let him tell his side of the story. I think maybe he was a little disingenuous about the cost side. I know that infrastructure costs for heating plants and for increased electrical metering and amperages is quite costly. So I think maybe he misled us to believe that it was a reasonable transition. I would argue that it was not. A 400 amp service is quite an expensive proposition. So anyway, let's move away from that. As we talk about infrastructure, the work you're doing as a utility supplier, is this work being done by subcontractors?
So we use both our own crews, and there are times where that work does get subcontracted out. We use, union labor, per agreements that we have with, IBEW. Our workforce on the operation side is unionized, and so we work with union contractors to come in and help us with projects in certain instances. And there are times when, we're using our own crews. We have to operate and maintain our system on a daily basis, hooking up new homes, hooking up new services. And so that takes up a lot of time and resources. And in addition to that, we're also trying to rebuild our infrastructure at the same time. And so we're trying to accomplish all of that to make sure that we can provide safe and reliable service to our customers.
I know the electric utility is not the bad guy, but none of the issues that we talk about with failure happen with natural gas.
Yeah, I mean, the natural gas system is, a different animal than electric. It's completely underground. And so it's not subject, when we have a windstorm come through here and we have 75 mile an hour winds, you don't see that with natural gas. With electric, we do everything we possibly can to safeguard our system. I talked earlier about tree trimming. We are looking at, in the future, as we see more and more extreme weather events, making sure that the infrastructure that we're putting in is more robust. I talked about the transmission project that we did earlier in the Southern Tier. We're using a different style of transmission structure now that should be more resilient to weather events. Those are things that we're looking at going forward to make sure that we provide safe and reliable service to our customers.
Let's go to Williamsville and chat with Brad. Good morning, Brad. You're next.
Okay. The first thing is the electrons that go to electric heat pumps in New York State. Most of the electrons come from fossil fuels, not from renewable energy. The next thing is the Niagara Falls. I keep track of the capacity factors at Niagara Falls Hydroelectric Plant. Is just at 57%. The Niagara Falls Power Project is only operating at about 57% of capacity. And the last thing in New York State, wind and solar contributed at the end of the year 2023, wind and solar combined at 5.14%. Only 5.14% of the energy generated in New York State 2023 came from wind and solar.
So,
and the last thing.
Go ahead, Brad.
The last thing is the CLCPA, 70% renewable energy by 2030. That won't happen. They won't even come close to generating, 70% renewable.
Ken, good question, good points there, Brad. Thank you. Ken, how is it determined that renewables are going to be sufficient when we have these tremendous fluctuations in reliability, even more so than we have with the grid?
Yeah, again, from National Grid's, the way that we operate, we don't own wind and solar. They interconnect to us. Under the CLCPA, as the caller referenced, the state has a target of 70% by 2030. Whether or not the marketplace moves that rapidly, I think, is still to be determined. We don't have any control over that. What we do have control over is interconnecting those projects to our system. And so for National Grid, our job is to make sure that when one of those projects does show up, we allow them to interconnect. It may require investments in order to allow that, but that's the role that we play in that process.
Well, we'll be looking to have you back after we start to see this unfold. in real time and kind of keep us in the loop and up to date as to what you expect to happen with the electrification of our society. I think you mentioned off air that it's a downstate benefit more so than us, and I think we're kind of dragged in to this whole equation because of New York City, and maybe that's part of the equation that we have to find a solution to.
Yeah, again, the decisions on where state policy is headed, will be determined in Albany.
But on that point, I think I want to encourage our listeners to make your voice known. Develop your opinion on this issue, and contact your state representatives, state assembly, and state senators, and let them know how you feel about it. Because as you've pointed out, Ken, all of this comes from decisions that are made in Albany.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for being here. How do our listeners reach out to National Grid if they have a question or a concern?
So, we have our website, nationalgridus.com, that provides, lots of information on how we operate our system, how we interconnect, or how we engage our customers. I would say our website, we have social media as well that we use to communicate. I would say have our customers utilize those sources.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate your time. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next Saturday. And always remember, life may be hard by the yard, but by the inch, it's a cinch.
WBEN Buffalo, WKSE HD3 Niagara Falls.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.